This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Hello to everybody who enjoys a good pickle. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour. One phone call. No names. No holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi everybody, Chris Gethard here. And this intro is about 10 minutes long. So if you're someone who just wants to get to the phone call, all good by me. I get it. You want to skip about 10 minutes ahead. Thanks so much. Please consider checking out beautifulanonymous.com for more bonus stuff. Thanks everybody. Hi everybody, it's Chris Gethard welcoming you to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. As always, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're feeling good. I hope that life's pressures aren't dragging down on you too much. I hope you're taking some actions to take care of yourself. And I mean all of this sincerely. I hope that your basement isn't flooding and you're not seeing water run down the inside of your windows like I am. And wondering if your house even functions as a house. Anyway, that's just a little glimpse into my personal life and where things have been at lately. Wanted to, first of all, thank everybody who's been signing up at beautifulanonymous.com for Beautiful Anonymous Plus. As of this recording, we are at 563 signups. Not bad. I don't think we're going to get to the 2,500 that's going to give me a bonus. But I do find it funny to track this on a weekly basis. I'm feeling pessimistic about our ability to get to 2,500 signups in the allotted time for me to get a financial windfall, but that's okay. You know, I think it's fair to say a lot of people don't want to sign up for more stuff, but the people who have signed up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus are loving it, and I thank you all for checking it out. We're actually prepping right now a bunch of the audio from Beautiful Cononymous. That'll be coming out soon on the Beautiful Anonymous Plus platform. And that felt like a perfect thing for people who are invested as fans because it's sort of overwhelming and confusing on its own. But if you're a fan of the show, I think it's pretty great stuff. So Beautiful Anonymous Plus is there. And also everybody who signed up at that top tier, that's the like pay what you want. If you have disposable income, we really appreciate you supporting the show. I've been writing letters and sending them out 3 or 4 at a time because I try to put a lot of effort into every single one. And there's been a whole bunch of you who should be receiving letters and a few more who your letters should be going out in the next week or two. And thank you again so much for signing up. Also wanted to let everybody know that I have live shows coming up and I'm really psyched about them. If you're listening to this episode the day it comes out, that means you're listening on Tuesday, January 23rd. Well, guess what? If you're in San Francisco, on the 26th, I have a show, and on the 27th, I have 3 shows, all as part of Sketchfest. Sketchfest is a fantastic festival. I could talk a lot about how their early belief in me and my public access show was a very big part of the momentum of my career. That when Sketchfest invited us to come do a live taping of the Gethard show, it validated us in the eyes of the comedy community at large, and it helped us so much. Now, I have so much love for them. I'll be doing a couple stand-up shows throughout. I'll be doing an improv show with my friend Tammy Sager. That show is near and dear to my heart. I think the ticket sales are not good. sfsketchfest.com. You can get tickets for all my shows there. And on Sunday, January 28th, I'm going up to Portland, Oregon, and it's going to be a good time. And I'm going to do a stand-up show, and the tickets for that one are really good. So if you want to get those before they sell out, chrisgeth.com. You can check those out. And I think I might be trying to get dinner with the callers from Love is Everywhere and Parade Girl, I believe, all in one place. So there's a little glimpse behind the beautiful anonymous curtain, is sometimes I get to go meet up with past callers who I've come to know over the years, and it provides me a support system when I'm on the road, and it's lovely. And then, of course, want to keep reminding you that on February 3rd, if you're in Brooklyn, New York, tickets are really moving. I'm doing a Laughing Together benefit show. Gary Goldman, Claire O'Kane, Christy Summers, sketch from Business Casual. This is a benefit show for the nonprofit I'm doing work for now, where all the money we raise goes towards placing mental health services in schools. So if you're in Brooklyn, come out to Littlefield. Again, chrisgeth.com. I've also got Vancouver, Canada on the schedule on the 15th of February, and then all the way out in March, we got a beautiful anonymous taping in Boise, Idaho, chrisgeth.com. Okay. What else is there to say? Anything? Not much. Really, all I've been thinking about lately is how the Seton Hall Pirates are surprisingly good this year. But I don't think beautiful anonymous intros are a place for me to rant about my favorite North Jersey-based college basketball team. Although that being said, if you are a fan of the Seton Hall Pirates and you want to call beautiful anonymous so I can justify doing an hour-long rant about the Seton Hall Pirates, I wouldn't say no to it. So feel free to call in sometime, everybody, both when our live tapings happen, and I do want to remind you right now in the intro, for everybody who doesn't listen all the way through the outros, we got a voicemail line. It's at 973-306-4676, and I know we record during business hours. I'll give you a little insider information. A lot of why that happens lately is because I record when Cal is at school, and he's at school in the middle of the day. So if I want my house to be quiet, that's when I record. Little tip there, but maybe those taping times don't work for you. And even more importantly, maybe you're somebody who feels like you like Beautiful Anonymous, but you have not heard your story represented on the show, whether that's because you're from a part of the world or a cultural background or a specific life experience, especially as we gear up for the 2024 election. How would I say it? And everybody who's listened for a long time is going to nod their head. I wouldn't say that Beautiful Anonymous is an overtly activist show. I will say that some of the episodes I'm immensely proud of have represented people who are in situations and places that tie into what's happening in the world. I try to keep the show reflective of on some level, my values, because I'm in every conversation. So I make sure that I speak up for those. But, you know, we also had, back in 2016, a woman who was planning on voting for Trump for the first time. And I just asked her why. And I gave her an hour to explain and tried not to judge and tried not to scream and yell. I am proud of that. I think if somebody at Hillary Clinton's campaign had listened to that episode, I think there might have been actual strategy changes as far as, hey, here's how regular working people are thinking right now. Here's where they're feeling burned. Here's where they're feeling unlistened to or scorned. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we had someone from Charlottesville call in after Charlottesville happened. I'm glad that we had African-American teacher in the Minneapolis school system call in right in the wake of George Floyd. I'm proud that we had a survivor of the Las Vegas shooting. So again, we don't bend the show towards anything. We don't produce it or cultivate it to be based on current events, but over the course of 7 years and the course of 400 plus episodes, some of the episodes that I've been most proud of have certainly tied into current events and anxiety surrounding them and people's experiences with them. And if you're out there and you have something to say, and you feel that you are part of a movement or a culture or something that's happening that hasn't showed up on the show, our voicemail line is 973-306-4676. And we are wide open towards making this a wide array of voices and experiences, and I want to make that happen. So if you feel like you are out there with something to say, but you can't call at 3 p.m. or 1 p.m. or whenever my son in New Jersey happens to be at school, we will work to accommodate your schedule, as we feel it's important to make sure the show has diversity, not in the sense of a buzzword, but in the same sense I grew up with in my school system in New Jersey, where you just come to realize, oh, the more people that are around, the more I learn about the world. The more different types of stories I hear, the less shocking it is to get out there in the real world and see how things work. And that's part of the mission statement of this show. Always has been, always will be. So please hit up that voicemail line at 973-306-4676 if you feel like you got something to say. Anyway, this week's episode, we've had this one in the can for a while. Been looking for a good week to release it. And it feels like now's the time. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a tough one. If you have a tough time with stories that involve substance abuse, death, overdoses, there's some imagery in this one. It's really not easy. So if those are things that you need to brace yourself for, consider yourself warned. Our caller talks about where she's at in terms of those things, talks about dealing with death, talks about how friends step in when it comes to that, talks about family, and talks about creativity. So a lot of things that have long been parts of this show mixed together in this call. We also talk a lot about pickles. I'm not going to lie about that. There's silly parts too. But there is a lot of talk of death and how you deal with it and how family steps up and found families step up and how sometimes your own creativity can go in directions you don't expect and how it can tie into all these things. So I found it to be a really interesting one, but also a really impactful one. And I hope you get something out of it.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. I'm going to do the usual thing, I think. Is this Chris?
It's Chris. It is Chris.
Hi. Hi. Oh my God. I can't believe I'm talking to you right now. Like, this is kind of alternate reality kind of thing for me.
I have to tell you, as a guy who regards himself as extraordinarily regular, it does not get old to have people say such kindness. So thank you for that.
You really built a beautiful community, and I just want to applaud you for that. Like, you've created such an amazing space for people who are empathetic and just people. And I just want to say thank you for having this podcast.
I feel lucky to do it. And as far as that community goes, I'm like, well, the empathetic introverts need to go somewhere. So somebody's got to step up and build the thing for all the empathetic introverts. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. So the reason I called today, I guess it's been a crazy year, Chris. Has it been for you?
Yeah, it has been. Absolutely.
Like, so many changes, so many, like, different things. I guess I'll start with kind of what I told the prompt, or
Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea. So this is something I didn't really expect to be talking about today. But I got through and I was like, this just happened literally a day ago. So
Okay.
So I'm about 28. I'm not very old. I had a really long friendship with a friend of mine who passed away from liver failure. She was my age. And it's just been crazy. And I didn't know. She passed away in August. And I didn't know until yesterday.
Sorry.
And so it's just been like kind of this kind of crazy, like I'm in shock, but also like I knew she was sick kind of thing. But I didn't know how bad it was. And then I just kind of like looked up her name on Google and I found that she had passed back in August, and we were really good friends. Like a bunch of people knew we were friends. No one had reached out and told me or anything. I don't hold it against them. I'm kind of like low key on social media, but it's still like it stung. And I don't know. It's just so weird to be so young and lose someone who you're so intimately like close to, like, and it just like kind of brought the reality of like, oh shit, I might die tomorrow kind of thing to my mind.
Yeah. 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 I know that feeling. I just this week, a comedian passed away. A guy named Kenny DeForest.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. And he was great. And we weren't the tightest. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, man, just the nature of being around so many years together. We crossed paths so many times. And I was like, actually, man, me and him had some good heart to hearts along the way. And I
Mm-hmm.
put his name into my email inbox and we had some like real deep conversations throughout the years. I was like, yeah, we weren't, I can't claim to be the tightest, but I'm like, wow, there were a few major points in my career where me and that dude linked up and it was deep. And he told me some deep things that I won't air out here, but I know that feeling of like, sounds like you were a lot closer with your person and then maybe some combination of distance and being off social media, which is sadly the way of the world right now, kept that info from you. For me, it was less closeness and more realizing that there had been maybe a missed chance at closeness or occasional closeness, but I'm dealing with some
Oh yeah.
similar thoughts right now.
It's just, I always thought like death was this really like scary thing. And then I kind of realized how it kind of brings people together in a weird way. Like I know that's just the strangest thing because someone is actually leaving the planet, they're not existing anymore, but everyone around them, like they all kind of come together and love on each other, and even in death, that's sweet. I just, I don't know. It's just been a crazy year, and that was the last thing I thought I would have to go through this year. I mentioned to Andrea, I moved basically across the country last year, and then I came back home to where I'm at. I want to say in April, and then me and that certain friend had a falling out in May, and then she passed in August. And it's just such a weird, like rapid fire of events, and just everything just seems to be happening so fast now, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said you're 20, you
I
said
feel
you're
like
28?
I'm about to be 20. I'll be 28 this year. I'm 27 right now.
Yeah. That's young
But
to lose somebody.
I still have a whole.
I said that's young to lose someone from your friend group, from your age group.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know a few people that have lost sooner and closer friends. It's just like, I don't know. I know that you're sober, and I got sober back in 2021. And it's been like so strange because once you get sober, you realize like the amount of death that's around, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I do know exactly what you mean. Like I can say,
It's hard.
I know what you mean of like, there is this weird thing of being sober where I can say hands down that for me being sober is the right choice. And anytime
Yes.
I've trended towards not being sober, I immediately remember why that's the right choice for me. And I've had some legendary incidents that
Yes,
I've
of
talked
course.
about on platforms like HBO of like, oh, I had a friend who convinced me that MDMA was really laid back. And then we all learned together that for me, it's not laid back because no drug is. And I've had to deal with that, you know? And I can make jokes about it, tell stories about it, but I do have some sense of what you mean of you have, there's a weird thing that I understand what you mean, where it's like when you are somebody who can handle drinking or drugs, sometimes people use those to have a lot of fun. Sometimes people use those to numb some pain. Some people use them to feel
Mm-hmm.
more comfortably in a social setting. But you start to realize that it does all add up to a lot of lost time for a lot of us. Like when I would drink,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of turning things off, and then that time was lost. And then you're sober. I feel like when I'm sober now, I mean, it's been over 20 years for me, and I'm like, I'm less fun. Nobody points at me and says, "Oh, the life of the party is here." Nobody. There's a lot of things where I have felt over the years like I don't get included, or I don't get included fully because people think of me as having an energy that can't go down that road. But I also sit there and I go, oh, I also kind of grew up a little faster and understood the impact of that lost time a little bit more, and
Mm-hmm.
feel not just sober, but a little somber about it. But it's ultimately a very healthy thing. Is that along the lines of what you mean? I know I'm rambling a lot right now.
No. You're totally okay. Yeah, no. My sobriety saved me. Like I fully believe that because I don't I was 25 when I got sober, and I was before that I had to go to the hospital because I was like throwing up this like I had I guess my stomach lining had turned to like acid. I was near ulcers, and then I like woke up and I was like, "Holy shit! Like, what am I? What is this for? Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I like pursuing this thing that's like obviously causing me like bodily harm at that point?"
Yeah.
But like when I got sober and like I went through all the things that you're supposed to do, and I met so many amazing people, and I realized like everyone that I know, like I'm from a small town, and everyone I know just like or knew, well, I still know them, but they just numb and they think it's okay, and it's, for some people it is okay. It's completely okay. I'm not one of those people, and I don't think if I could go back and like rewire my brain, I don't think I would still allow myself to have that privilege. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes back to that lost time. Like I spent 7 years drinking, like in the problem, and like ruining my life. Dropped out of school. Like I had a lot of potential. I just I was scared of it. I was scared of it. I was always told I wasn't gonna like really do good at it. You know, I should think more conservatively and more inside the box, not outside the box. But that just wasn't who I was. And so I rebelled really hard, like in college. And it took me down a path where, like, I don't think I've ever seen more tragedy and more just like people just being in despair because they can't like get better and they don't know how to get better. And that's kind of what happened with my friend. She also, I can't make judgment calls for anyone, but she was drinking on dialysis. But it's just hard, and it's just like I get that, like you don't want to face the fact that you might be dying. No one wants to face that fact, but it makes me sad that she didn't get to see like what life could have been for her. That makes sense. If you've ever lost someone to something like that, what life, like how special everything is now.
I'm sorry you're going through it. I can hear in your voice that you're really having like some well-earned and justifiable existential crisis this year.
Well, I've lost a lot of people in the 3 years that I've gotten sober. I lost my mom 3 months in. I lost my grandfather. I lost an uncle. It's just been one thing after another, and it's just like it's been hard. It's been like, is this worth it? Like I don't at all like want this to become a 12-step call, but like I know it's worth it. I've seen why it's worth it, but it's just like, damn, it's just like this all the time. This is what life is about, just death. And I guess so, but like, how can I make that beautiful and cherish it instead of be haunted by it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I really do. It's not easy. I think my version of it, which I've talked about sparingly on the show over the years, but I had a friend who was my best friend growing up, and then his family moved a couple towns away. So I would still see him a bunch of times a year because it was like a 15-minute, 20-minute drive. But when you're a kid, you got your friends in school now, right? And if you're seeing them every day versus seeing your other friend once every month or once every 6 weeks, that kid's not going to be as much your best friend anymore, right? Like there's other flashier things happening. And then I got the sense when he went to this new town, like he was drinking way younger than anybody else I knew. And I would meet people from that town. I'd be out at punk rock shows and I'd meet people from that town. And I'd say, oh, a friend of mine lives there. And I'd say his name and they'd give me this look where I could see on their face.
Fuck.
Oh, that kid's, you could see in their reaction of like, oh, that you're friends with that kid. Like, and I could tell he had a reputation, and then wound up losing him to heroin overdose. And
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm not trying to make you. In the end, I think when I get to the end of this ramble, you'll see that it's about making you feel better. But I feel like you're clearly having some guilt because you had a falling out in May and then a person passed in August, and that's horrible. I had a situation where I ran into him on a street in Montclair, New Jersey, Bloomfield Avenue. Jersey people know that's like a huge downtown area in North Jersey. And he was so happy to see me. And he was like, we should hang out. We exchanged numbers. And I lived right near there. And he said he worked right near there. And I didn't call him. And part of it was because I was scared, because I had heard stories about the bad times and him stealing money and things. And I judged my friend, and then he passed away. And it took me years to feel less guilty about that. I wound up having, an exchange with his mom where I was like, I feel like I need to tell you this. And her forgiveness went a long way. And I still sometimes have nightmares about him, but they were really intense. I had to tell my wife when we got together, I had to say, oh, so just so you know, sometimes I have nightmares where I wake up screaming, and it's usually because it's nightmares about this one friend of mine. And I had to tell her, like, if we sleep in the same bed and I wake up making crazy noises, just shake me awake because I'm probably having a nightmare about my friend. Not about my friend, about running into my friend Josh. And that was when I think I was in my very early 30s. But I can tell you, you lose people. It never gets easier. But I do think that when you're in your 20s, and I never try to speak with the condescension of somebody in my 40s. So easy for people in their 40s, 50s, 60s to look down our noses at young people. And it's somehow we think it's charming to roll our eyes at young people. And it's newsflash for the middle-aged. It's never as charming as you think it is to roll your eyes at people younger than you. Because
it's frustrating, especially if we're asking for answers.
Oh, of course. And especially for a generation that's, let's not forget, is feeling the stress of you all convinced us to take on massive student loans and have dangled the idea of forgiving them, and now you're not. And meanwhile, we're all kind of learning that college degrees are necessary in some cases, but not maybe $100,000 worth of necessary in the job force.
Seriously, yeah.
Home ownership feels like a dream that your generation is not going to get to participate in the way that prior generations did. The window's closing on that. There's been so many promises made to you by inspirational leaders who told you they were going to change things that they have not changed. There's a lot of reasons to be pissed and demoralized when you're young. That's the sad part. When I look at young people, I go, we can't roll our eyes at young people. If anything, we should be massively concerned that the sense I get is that generations younger than me are no longer pissed. They're just kind of giving up. And we've driven them to that as older generations that made promises and dropped the ball on things. It sucks. But I think I will tell you that losing people never gets easier, but embracing life does. And wisdom doesn't come with age for everybody, but for most people, it does. And I can tell you that I think back to how I reacted to my friend Josh passing when I was young, and we were all supposed to just be living our dreams and going for it. And yeah, he had a lot of problems, but it never occurred to me that someone who I grew up with that close could actually just be dead, that his heart could stop beating.
For real.
It was not a reality until it happened, and then it's a reality, and we all face that. But I can tell you now in my 40s that this is going to sound kind of nuts, but death still shocks me, but it doesn't scare me. It can be very tragic, especially
it doesn't scare me either.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And I want to let you know that
it doesn't scare me because.
Yeah, why? Why? Because why?
You know. Program talk now, but I found a higher power. Like I know, like even if like I know there's no heaven and hell and all that stuff. I was gonna say shit, but I was like, no, I don't want to make Rosie mad. Is it Rosie? Your mom's name?
Sally, but there's definitely someone named Rosie listening as well.
Sally, I'm sorry. I don't know where I got Rosie at.
And my Aunt Karen recently told me she still listens to every episode, so Aunt Karen's out there as
well. Well, shout out to Aunt Karen. But it's just like, yeah, like death doesn't. I'm not scared of it because, like, you know, that's all we really are guaranteed. That is the only guarantee that we will have to deal with is death. You know, like some people, like, I don't want to bring up like death of babies or anything like that, but like some people don't have to worry about the sex and the taxes type things and all that stuff. And it's just like, it to me, I've lost people in my life and I feel like it's just like them coming home, and not in the sense of like the godly sense, but like just they're not hurting anymore. Like I took Buddhism quite a bit, and I recovered, and it's really opened my eyes to the amount of suffering we bring on ourselves, like even subconsciously. And it, like the stories we tell ourselves, like that, like how you said you're no fun at parties, and like that's a story you tell yourself. I'm sure someone at a party would see you and would be like, hell yeah, Chris is here. Now I feel way better at this party, you know?
Yeah, that might be true, but I think there's other contexts in which I am more fun than parties. But point taken.
I feel like people, you don't know your impact on someone. No one knows anyone's impact on anyone.
Let's go ahead and pause there, because that's maybe the sentence in 7 years of doing this show that might distill this entire show down to its essence. No one knows anyone's impact on anyone truly. That's something you should get tattooed on your body as a reminder. Anyway, we've got ads. Check them out. Use the promo codes. It helps the show. We'll be right back.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by the podcast A Date with Dateline. How to get away with not getting murdered and winding up on Dateline. Kimberly, what's first?
First and foremost, Katie, don't let your smile light up a room.
If someone in your life seems too good to be true, they probably are.
And finally, when it comes to life insurance, deny. You don't have any. You're worth nothing.
Please subscribe to A Date with Dateline podcast for more tips on how to not wind up on Dateline.
I'm Josh Mankiewicz, and I approve this message.
I tell you, everybody, I was just looking in my closet. This is very true. And I was like, man, I got some things in here that I've been wearing for 10, 11, 12, 15 years. And some of those are comfort items I'm never going to get rid of. And some of that is just me going, man, upgrade your game. Clean out the closet. Get some new things in there that are going to give you the next 10 years of your life. What are you doing? Wearing all this stuff. I'll tell you what, Quince is advertising on the show right now, and they are stepping up, and they're here for this exact conversation that I've been having in my own head. Quince creates timeless essentials that never go out of style. These are things you're going to want to have in your closet for a decade, for 15 years, forever. All the must-haves. Quince has got 100% Mongolian cashmere crewneck sweaters, and I'm talking about like $59. If you've ever shopped for a cashmere sweater before, you know that is a steal at $59. They've got 100% leather jackets. So if you're out here and you're a middle-aged guy like me trying to hang on to your punk rock roots, you want to look like the Ramones, they got your leather jackets. There's fitted pants. This is one of the main mistakes I've made in my life. I will never forget when my friend Zane pulled me aside and said, "Can I give you some advice?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Just get pants that fit." And I realized most men that I grew up with just refuse to wear pants that fit. Quince has pants that will fit you. And the best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. That's for real, 50 to 80% less. Now we're talking. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman, passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices along with premium fabrics and finishes. That is a super important thing. I remember my senator from New Jersey, Cory Booker, I remember him once saying, one of the main ways you can quietly be activist is think about where you spend your money. So the fact that Quince is making sure you're spending it with factories that have safe practices, that are responsible, that's awesome. And like I said, I'm somebody who will wear a t-shirt until you can't even see what was on it. And then I sit there and I go, I don't feel great because I don't think it's shallow. I realized at some point in my 30s, I realized you put a slight amount of effort into your appearance. You make your appearance reflective of the fact that you're putting in some effort, and it helps you face the day, helps you feel better, and you get out there. And when you revamp your closet, it allows you to have that little energy boost, that little kick that you're out there ready to go out into the world, get stuff done. And you're not going to break the bank doing it because the quality is high, the price is low right here. It's a really good thing. Upgrade your closet with Quince. Go to quince.com/beautiful for free shipping and 365-day returns on your order. That's QUINCE.com/beautiful. You get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/beautiful. Thanks to all our advertisers who help this show exist. Now, let's get back to the phone call.
No one knows anyone's impact on anyone, like truly, you know?
Yeah.
Unless they like have a heart to heart and like talk about it. But even then, it could be masked with some ego and some pride. It's just, I don't know. It's been a heck of a year. Like, I've had some good stuff too happen. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not all just been bad. I was telling Andrea, like, I got a book published, and that was really cool. It's a poetry book.
Hey, congrats.
Thank you so much. It's for someone without a degree and to had dropped out of like college when I was going for that specific type of thing, sophomore year, and then to finally get published and like without like any help, just kind of a shot in the dark. It's been such an honor and so great, and it makes me really happy. And it's just up from here. I know that. It's just this year's been too many changes at once, it seems like.
I hear
But
you.
I feel like a lot of people feel that way too, especially if you look on the news and see what's happening elsewhere. Like, they're having constant changes to their living situations, but I won't get into that because that's just harrowing and sad and just brutal and unnecessary.
We've been talking about death a lot. I wonder, have you put any thought into how you want people to react when you die?
You know, I hope people aren't sad because, like, I suffered. I suffer a lot. Like, I have mental illnesses. I have OCD. You know, I have alcoholism. I have all these things. I grew up with a really shitty mom and just a whole bunch of stuff. I went through a hell of a lot of stuff, and I hope people fucking party when I die. Like, period. Like, please don't be sad. Party for me. You know?
Yeah.
Because I just life is short. It's too laughably short. Even the people that live the longest, I'm sure they still have deathbeds and regrets. And that's just like, I don't know. I didn't really intend for this whole thing to steer towards death, but like, it's just, I feel like people forget about it sometimes.
That's true.
Like, forget about mortality and just like, we get lost in our world. Like, we get lost on our phones. We get lost at our work and all that stuff. We get lost in the plot of shit. And then you forget, like, are you really living? Like, are you doing the most today that you can do, possibly, safely, hopefully, to, like, make it worth it? Because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And I don't mean to be morose about it. I'm pretty an optimistic person, but I know it doesn't sound like it. But, but I just
I wouldn't say this call has screamed optimism, but I trust you.
I suffer from a lot of anxiety, and so a lot of that is weirdly death-based. Like, I'm very, like, it's a long story, but like, there was one time, well, a couple months of my life where I was convinced like water would kill me. And that was just such a strange, like, brain, like, process. But it's just something that, like, I was always scared of until, like, I think what really, like, made me not scared of it anymore is realizing, like, it happens to everyone. Like, it's gonna happen. And in fearing something that's basically inevitable really doesn't make sense. To me, at least. I don't know. I know people who definitely avoid it, and I try to avoid it in certain ways. I'm not like out. I don't know, drinking, drugging, doing all the crazy shit I could do to bring me closer to death. You know what I mean? I'm trying to preserve the life I do have. Hopefully, it's long, but I just I don't know. It doesn't scare me like it does most people
I think it's
anymore.
interesting.
And
Like
I feel like that's pretty odd.
I think it's interesting how you said, oh, I don't want people sad. I want people to party when I die. And I feel the same way. I'm like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I want every listener on this show go out and do something fun in my honor. Don't mourn me for a second. Don't waste 5 minutes of your day being sad about me. Like, go book a trip to New Jersey and go hang out at some place that I used to love. Or, certainly if you ever get old and you meet my son, tell him that you got his back and his dad was a good guy, but don't sit around sad. And there is this thing where I feel like that's pretty universal. Like, I think if you asked anybody, they would say, don't waste too much time. Like, mourn me and then move on and go have fun and do something cool. Go do something cool to honor me. Everybody would say that. But those of us who still live after death, it's not what we do. It's not what we do. Like, I don't know your friend, but I brought up Kenny before, who just passed away 3 days ago. And I knew him well enough to know he'd be making fun of everybody for posting sad stuff about him on the internet. He'd be like, no, go play a game of basketball or something. Go drive around and do some comedy shows. What are you talking about, you losers? Stop posting sad shit about me. I know he would. But we don't allow ourselves to do that in reality, even though theoretically, I think we all fundamentally know that's everybody's desire.
Yeah. It's so funny that you said that. Like, yesterday I could hear her because I was crying about her. Because she was like, I bet no one would miss me and stuff. And I just broke down, like, full on. Like, I was like, bitch, like, if you knew how much I miss you right now, you would have never said that. But then I heard in her voice in the back of my mind being like, why the hell are you crying right now? Over what? Something you can't change? Move on.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how she was. And like, she always had that attitude, just like, you can't change it, can't fix it, move on, we'll go, And I always admired her about that because I'm a very stuck person. I get stuck on stuff. I get stuck on guilt. I get stuck on what I should have done, what I could have done, you know what I mean? And I think with this, like, after this call, I will probably do something to celebrate her,
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to talk to her mom when I found out, and she invited me back out to California, which is where I moved before, to go spread her ashes in the redwoods, like at a place where she wanted to get married. And I'm like, what a fucking honor. I'm sorry, Sally, but what an honor. Like, wow, you don't even know me. Like, I don't think we've even talked. But I guess I told her my story, and she could tell how much I cared about her daughter. And just, it's like I said, it brings people together, and as it should, because like life is short, and it's worse celebrating, but also it's so the same side of that coin. It's just so hard to just not have that person, even if they weren't necessarily the most healthy person, just to be able to call and like hear their voice. You know what I mean? It's just an odd and like bewildering experience, but like I also agree. I feel like most people would want to be celebrated in death, you know? Like I don't think anyone, at least I hope not, anyone would be like, oh no, I want you to like mourn me like for like a month. I want you to just be sad as hell for like a month straight. That's exactly what I want. It's weird to me because I'm kind of all over the place. But it's also weird to me that some people in certain communities and certain religions sit with the dead body. Like I know, I don't know for a fact, but I believe Jewish culture you sit
Shiva.
Yeah, and you sit with the body for 7 days, and like I just feel like, is that a celebration or mourning? Or is it both? I guess both, you know.
Well, I come from the Irish Catholic faith, and I can tell you that to date, probably some of the most fun parties I've ever been to have been wakes. Irish Catholics do get this right. Yeah. Here, the way it works with Irish Catholics is you show up at the wake and everyone's sad, and there'll be some family member where you're like, oh, this is awkward. Should I talk to them? Let me go pay my respects. Maybe go sit by the coffin, say your goodbye. You'll freak out because the body's right there. There will generally be a big easel with a bunch of flowers and photographs on it of the person throughout their life. And then you will invariably find a picture of you with the person or in a situation where you knew you were present, and it will be immensely and brutally sad. And then somebody starts cracking jokes, and I'm not a drinker, but people might pass around a flask, and they start turning fun at the funeral home. And then when it starts to feel a little inappropriate that we're having fun catching up with people at the funeral home, you go to somebody's house where there will be food. And sometimes it's food that people have made, but then sometimes it's just straight up like we went out. This was short notice, and we just went and got like a big ass 6-foot long sub sandwich, and everybody come have some sandwich and some chips and some drinks. And then it gets fun fast. I do think, for all my qualms with Irish Catholicism and the Catholic Church, they know how to grieve, which is like you cry really hard and then you laugh really hard. You cry really, really hard, and then you make sure you laugh a little harder than you cried. And that is a fun way to move on. I remember when my grandma died, my aunt yelled at my brother and I because she realized that we snuck out and went to Jimmy Buff's hot dogs at the wake. She's like, you two, get over here. You guys smell like peppers and onions. Did you go to Jimmy Buff's? We were like, yeah. I mean, we're both back in our hometown, of course. We got to go get Jimmy Buff's. She's like, you stink like peppers and onions. And you didn't even bring any back for anybody else. You couldn't even wait till the wake was over. She's like, if you're going to go, at least bring some back for everybody else. And we were all laughing about it. My grandma's dead body is 6 feet away, and we're her daughter and 2 of her grandsons. So the Irish Catholics do know how to make it happen. I'll say this.
That makes me that.
I'm going to say this. If you're listening to this show, if I die, please clip this audio and make sure this circulates on social media after my death. I don't need anybody getting sad. I don't need any of the boo-hoo-hoo stuff. I'm fine. I lived a good life. If you really want to celebrate me, pick a date and get anybody who ever cared about me, close or far, and go to West Orange, New Jersey. Go hang out down the hill. It's rough around the edges, but it's got a lot of heart. Eat lunch at Jimmy Buff's hot dogs, and then walk it off for a few hours, and then go get pizza at the Star Tavern. And then you never need to think about me again. You're good. I give you permission to move on quickly and succinctly, And if someday my kid ever applies for a job and you recognize the name, just hook them up with the job and say your dad was a good guy who tried to help people out. And we don't need to sit around crying about it. Just go get some hot dogs, go get some pizza, put some money into the local down the hill, West Orange, New Jersey, and move on with your lives. And that's all I ask.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel like my friend would feel the same. So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but do you know those really big like hot pickles like that come in the individual wrappers?
In the packet. Yeah, and they come in the plastic with all the pickle juice in
Yeah,
them.
like the Big Mama or whatever.
You don't need to tell me about a big pickle.
She would love the shit out of it. Like every time I'd come over, she'd always just have one of these like in the back, like in the fridge, and I'm like, I got you. So maybe in celebration of that, instead of being a sad sack of shit, I might go to like a gas station and spend $20 on pickles, and just to keep them, just because it's funny.
Have pickles on hand at all times.
I know, right? You got Big Mamas every day of the week for about a month.
Yeah, a big pickle. I mean, a big gross pickle, like you said, it might be from a gas station. It might be from a deli where, since nobody really gets those, there's like dust on the plastic you got to wipe off first. But goddamn, in the right context, a big pickle is a good thing. Let's pause right there. I have a feeling, because I know our Facebook group, and sometimes the reactions go in a million directions. There will be people reacting to the hard stuff. There will be just as many people airing out opinions on pickles. I'm predicting it now. Anyway, we've got ads. We'll be right back.
1, 2, 3.
Table read.
Okay.
The Table Read podcast is like watching a movie with your eyes closed. Incredible production, totally immersive.
Table read.
Get a behind-the-scenes look into the Hollywood process as real actors sit down and bring scripts to life in Table Read.
If you've never listened to Table Read, I say check it out.
Table Read brings you established and new amazing writers with their scripts brought to life by fantastic actors.
So check out Table Read. You never know what you might hear or who might show up.
So check out Table Read.
Come for the stories, stay for the laughs. It's unlike any other podcast. Listen and subscribe to Table Read today on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks again to our advertisers. Now let's finish off the phone call. It might be from a gas station. It might be from a deli where, since nobody really gets those, there's like dust on the plastic you got to wipe off first. But goddamn, in the right context, a big pickle is a good thing.
Honestly, yeah.
Truly delicious.
Also,
that's what I would do. I'm going to eat. Next time I see a big individually wrapped pickle, I'm going to get it. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to think of you. And I'm going to think of your friend who, to my knowledge, I never met, but who will be remembered via the consumption of one large pickle.
I will take that, and I think she'll take that too, because I don't know. That girl was crazy. She was the love of my life. She brightened up every freaking room that she's ever walked in, and I know this is a sad kind of call to begin with, but like, I'm just honored to know the people that I've known. Like, so I've known some of the most gracious, most sweet people, and just knowing that she was one of them, even if she had a rough kind of exterior, that's enough for me, I guess.
You don't ever have to apologize for being sad on this show. And if we have a call where we rationalize how to deal with death at different phases of our life, and then it turns into the nature of how humans grieve, and then you give a little info to put your friend on a pedestal and let us all know to eat a big pickle in her honor, you don't ever have to apologize for that. Not on this show. That's the way. That's the way real conversations work.
True. I mean, yeah, that's how authenticity. Like, you can't script it. You know, like I don't know. It's just always, I was really nervous when I called because I've listened to this show and I've been a big fan, and you're just an astounding human, and I feel like if she would hear, I tried to get her to listen to your podcast, admittedly, but she wasn't really a really podcasty person.
She wasn't feeling
she was
it.
like, I don't know.
So listen, I'm not trying to make this about me, but there's a moment for dark humor here. You tried to turn your friend on to Beautiful Anonymous. They weren't into it. And now they have since passed. And I still got to go eat the big pickle to honor your friend. I'm still going to eat the big pickle, even though I wish your friend maybe gave the show a little bit more of a chance. But what a dark bad joke, and I do apologize.
No, it's okay. It's kind of funny that I'm talking about her on this show because she was like, I don't really get it. I'm just like, it's humanity. And she was like, okay. And I was like, well, okay. So I guess this is kind of my one last, here you go. Here's, go get pickles for people that you love and enjoy, and then hopefully don't have to worry about not seeing tomorrow. I guess.
I cannot stress that I truly love that we have used this episode to memorialize to some degree a person who was not convinced of the quality or necessity of this show. I think that's genuine. I genuinely love that so much. Genuinely love it. And I am continuously sorry for your loss, even as I giggle at that knowledge.
It's a loss. Everyone goes through. She wasn't the first, and she won't be the last. It's just a learning curve. We all have to figure out how to get her on.
Yeah. I'm glad you got that time. You said with her mom, right?
Yeah, it was just a brief phone call, but we bonded over like really quickly over several different things, and it was just she was like, call me anytime. And I've up until that point had never spoken to her at all, and I was like, okay, I will. And I saved her number, and I didn't feel weird about it. I didn't feel like this is a stranger. No, I felt like that's her mom. Yeah, I'll call her.
That's really great. That's really great. And it's stand up of you to reach out. It's stand up of her mom to let you in, especially being that you mentioned that you had a falling out. That must have been incredibly healing.
Yeah. It was because like in the end of all things, I truly feel like in people's last days, they just, if they're conscious, they just go within and just like truly just forgive everyone, because what's left is hanging on to that. Like, at least that's what I hope anyways. But I feel like that might be a selfish hope for me right now. But, I feel like it's a lot less weight to carry on when you're going to wherever you go to next.
Yeah. I think it's very important to find ways to let go of that weight. I think that's really important.
But, like, one thing I think, like, if she had known, she would have been so proud of me, is the fact that I published my book. Like, she always told me I had something, and like her, I mean, I knew, deep down, I didn't really necessarily need someone else to tell me I could write or make people feel things by my writing or anything like that. But just having someone that close to me, like encouraging me to be like, yeah, you can pursue this. Like, you do good. Like, she wasn't a poetry person. She was a very straight and narrow. Like, I don't know how to explain her personality, but she wasn't into podcasts or poetry, and she was an extrovert. Let's just go with that.
So
but
tell me a little more about this book. I want to know how you got this book over the finish line.
I actually, like, honestly, dude, it was it was sheer luck. Like, literally sheer luck. Like, I was on Twitter just randomly, like, scrolling through, and then I saw a publishing company was opening for subs for chapbooks, which is like a short form of people's short collection of someone's poetry. Usually it's thematic. And I was just like, okay, sure, why not? Like, what are they going to say? If they say no, then that's another no that I've had, whatever. And to my, like, shock and almost horror, because I was like, this is finally, like, not ready at all. Like, this is the most rough writing, like, unedited, like, all that. They took it. And I was like, what? And I know it's the content of it. I don't want to talk about the content of the book because then it will definitely, like, people will know who this is. But it was the content, and I felt seen. I spent, like, I grew up with, like, a mom that had a personality disorder that is one of the big three that are, like, hard to deal with, So, like, it was always a constant, like, can I be seen by someone? Like, am I ever going to be seen, like, noticed, like, appreciated? And then that happened in July. And I was just like, wow, like, that's a joke. Like, when they told me, yeah, like, we'd take it on, I was like, I kind of didn't respond for a minute. I was like, are they joking? Like, this is a joke. This isn't a real press or anything. And no, it's a real press. My book, like, I have a copy. There's copies out everywhere. Like, there's a copy in my hometown. There's like a place where copies can be distributed in my hometown. I'm a little bit of everywhere, and it's just it's crazy because, like, all this time I've always felt so self-defeating. And, like, one of the things, like, my friend told me, I'll never forget it. She was like, you deserve so much. Like, you just don't, I wish you would see it. I remember her telling you that. She was like, you deserve so much. I just wish you would see it. And, like, I didn't understand what she meant by that. And I don't know. And now all this is happening, and, even though she's gone, I feel like she's already, like, she knows what the book is, already read it. Like, I feel like she was the one that, even though she was alive, like, kind of during the time that they accepted it, she kind of, in a way, with her willpower, and her want for me to actually feel a sense of, like, self-worth. I feel like she kind of did something. I don't know. I know that's, like, very far-fetched, like, extremely far-fetched, but, it's just, she would be over the moon right now, and that's really what I can focus on. Like, I think I might, if I do another book, I might dedicate a book to her and her kids and all that stuff, and give some of the money I get from it to them, like, because he had that big of an impact on me.
I'm really glad you got that book made. Really glad you got that book out there.
Yeah.
What a cool thing to have happen. And again, to give you more momentum, more closure. It's cool.
Yeah. And that book's just, it's just a starting point. It's just a kickoff point. Like, I already have another one. I was going to get published by the same press, but some stuff happened and I pulled it. But it's out there. So if anyone can deduce, and
you did, you pulled the second one.
Yeah, I pulled the second one because the press at the time was having some just editorial issues. They didn't think they'd get as big as they got, as fast as they got. And so it was just kind of, I got scared. And then I looked at my book and I was like, I don't think I'm ready yet. I need to see what this does. This first one does before I go crazy. You know?
I mean, that's a very mature decision. It's hard to get a book published, especially a book of poetry, especially with a press that is on the up and up. So to be able to have the wherewithal to say, maybe I need to take a step back from this, that's a real moment of maturity right there.
Yeah, I just I want to make sure I'm doing it for the right reasons. I want to make sure I'm doing it for the art, not like the press or the publicity or any nominations I might get, all that shit. I just want to make it for the art, make sure I'm doing it because I want people to read these poems. I don't care about anything else. I just want to make sure I'm doing it for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what happened with my first book, because I was a really intimate book, and they put it out, and then I got kind of scared. I was like, do I really want people to like read all this stuff, like everything? It's kind of like a mini fourth step that I did in poem form. And it was really raw, and people just flocked to it. And I was like, why? Like, most people hate reading shit like this. Most people hate understanding the reality of things.
How dare you like the thing I made and put out in the world? How dare you enjoy this
How
thing?
dare you like my things?
How am I supposed to hide under the radar feeling self-conscious about myself if you insist on enjoying it? God damn it.
Fucking audacity of people. But it's I say that all in jest. I'm so beyond over the moon. I'm so happy. It's just this thrill, and it's something I've never experienced, and I want to continue to experience and have the opportunity to do so, because it's kind of like how comedy is for you. It's a way to really like let people inside of your mind and see how your mind like thinks and works and processes, and like how you watch people and then what you deduce from situations and things like that. Just, I don't know. Art's beautiful. It was a weird segue, but I just, I'm so appreciative that I had that. And I still have that. I still have that mode of honoring her in some ways. I can honor her through my writing and then get it put out there and people see it and maybe relate and just, or don't, and just read it and just be like, that was a good poem, And like, that's.
I'm also wondering too, I mean, I love everything you're saying, and I also want to, can you describe, like, you didn't necessarily expect this book to get out there the way it did. For anybody out there who's trying to write a book, wondering if they should keep fighting, can you describe that feeling that the first time you held a copy of your own book in your hands?
I can, Chris. The first time, like, I got my author copy shipped to me, I like almost didn't want to open it because I was like, this like I was still in imposter syndrome mode. I was like, this isn't real. And I opened it and I saw like an actual physical thing of my thoughts, my words, my feelings, everything. And I just, it was, there are no words. I thought I was like, yeah, I can describe it. And now that I'm really thinking about it, like, no, I was taken aback. I was breathtaking. It was all the adjectives, there is no other, there is no other feeling in the world except like to know that like you've completed a finished piece of art and you have it in your hands, and then other people will have it in their hands, and it'll be this whole like thing that ties you together, like a string that ties you together. It's just, I don't know. It is the most beautiful feeling.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing to think about to help dissuade all those feelings of imposter syndrome and tying it into people who are gone and the people who doubted you. At that moment when it's a real thing and you can hold it and you're like, oh, I've held so many books before and this one happens to be mine. That when that happens, that's a thing that you get to have and that no one can take away, and that is allowed to be as simple as that.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It's good. I don't have children. I've never really held a newborn baby before, but I believe it might be like the same feeling as a mom holding her baby for the first time. I don't know. I can't attest. But maybe some people who are writers and mothers can maybe chime in on that one. I don't know. But it's just a lot of pride and a lot of hard work went into it, a lot of tears, a lot of just crap. And to see it come out on the other side so beautiful and in my hands and tangible, there's no other feeling than that. Like really, it's it makes every email, every like decisive action, where to put a comma, all that stuff worth it. It makes it all worth it.
That's cool. I mean, I can say that I'm a dad, and I don't think it's exactly the same impact as a kid, but I can tell you that it's, as someone else who's written books, it's not the same as having a kid. It's not anywhere close emotionally, but it's one of a handful of things that I'd even put in the same realm, though. No, but it's one of the only things I can think of that I'd even put near it, truly.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good accomplishment. And I hope I'll go for it. We're about to wrap up. No, the closing thought is yours.
I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday, and just like I hope everyone is staying safe and with their loved ones, and go buy a random book and make someone's day. I don't know.
I love
or
that.
Go get a pickle if you can't afford a book.
Eat a big pickle. I think that's a great thought to end on for the people in the free feed. And we're going to continue for the people who are signed up at Beautiful Anonymous Plus. Are you okay saying goodbye to all the free listeners right now and staying on for 5 questions? And I have to say I'm excited about this because the 5 random questions will probably not focus solely on death. So we'll get to know other sides of you as well, because this one was very much dominated by death, which is fine, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. I'm down.
Let's make it happen. Caller, thank you so much for calling, for being so honest, for being so open, for putting so much vulnerable stuff out there. I, of course, have to thank the High Priestess of Beautiful Anonymous, Andrea Quinn, for all the production. I have to thank Shellshag for our theme music. And hey, if you want to know more about me and you want to know where you can get tickets to live shows, both stand-up and Beautiful Anonymous tapings, chrisgeth.com has the info. Once again, our voicemail line is 973-306-4676. We're also on Instagram now at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. And don't forget, we've got some lovely discussions of episodes over at the Facebook group. It's Beautiful Anonymous, the community on Facebook. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. It's funny, you wrote poetry, and there's been a few stretches both in your call and right there where I feel like you can talk about innocuous things, where I can feel it get a little poetic. Like hearing you talk about the emotion of animals, I'm willing to roll with it more than other people because I feel like there's a little bit of poetic thinking behind it. That and the pickle stretch. I think the pickle stretch had some poetry to it as well.
Yeah, I just it's writing and reading and books and words has always been the most comforting thing to me. Like it's always been like a safe bet. Like I've never doubted myself. Like, so I had a stutter like growing up as a kid, and that was really hard. And so people would talk over me and try to correct my words and finish my sentences, and I'm just like tired of that shit. You know what I mean? And so it's just I don't know if I do it on purpose or if it's just how I think. I just think in poetic ways. I don't know. You're not the first person to tell me that. I don't really know what to say to that. But thank you.
I think it's cool.
I guess this is a testament to what I'm on the right track, I guess.
I just like knowing that I get to ask you 4 more questions, and each one might come out like in fully formed haiku form. Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.
Spring is in the air, and at Minky Couture, we're celebrating this joyful season with warmth, love, and the softest, coziest blankets. Whether you're cuddling up after an Easter egg hunt or gifting a little extra comfort to someone special, our luxury blankets make every moment even sweeter. From our Minky family to yours, Happy Easter! May your day be filled with love, laughter, and all the cozy moments you can dream of. Visit us online at minkycouture.com or stop by one of our stores to find your perfect Minky hug today.